think we can start right now. So welcome back to Swedish Ignite. This is going to be our last session. So we're going to have a lot of fun. But to start, Pooja is going to create a poll for you so you can share your feedback for us. Okay, so great. Thank you so much for sharing your feedback. If you have any like final words or suggestion or feedback, you can let us know on Discord or here in the chat. For now, I'm going just to share my screen just to go through the session. Oh, okay, I need this one. Sorry. Where's my? Okay, I find it. Share sound. Perfect. So I think that everyone should be able to see my screen right now. Okay, so let's get started. Let me see if I can put it on slideshow. Okay. So today we are going to talk about like the application of like a software engineering in drawing from text prompts, which means that like you provide a text and then you will get a picture. Cool, right? And then we will play Kahoots. And then we will send you to breakout rooms so you can work on your games, on your project with the mentors. Or if you want like to have like a casual chat with them. Okay, so what is this thing? So like there's this company, OpenAI, that created like a program that they call like DALL-E, right? So you provide something like a sentence or a text to this program, and in return, you will get some sort of images that is related to that text. So for example, on the bottom right, under the picture, you can see like there is a sentence that says an avocado in a wizard hat is skating on ice. And you can see like the picture, some sort of like have a combination of like the hat, avocado, and like the skating. So it's really cool. And it is just coming from like the artificial intelligence. So of course, again, as I said before, you need to increase your knowledge in other areas as well. But at the end of the day, you need to know how to program, right? You need to know how to implement these concepts so you can create such cool tools, right? So the whole idea is that if you don't know like how to program, even if you know like the knowledge, you cannot like implement it. So that was like really cool. Okay, so for Kahoot, we're going to have like a quiz type game. So sometimes you may need to do something like a small calculation, like I don't know, like 10 plus 5, 2 minus 1. And if it is like 1 or 2 should be fine. If it is hard for you to track those calculations, maybe later in the game, so it might be a good idea to have like a pen and paper ready, just in case if you want to do some sort of calculation on your end, so you can just do it quickly, right? And we are going to play these games. So like the ranking will be based on like the scores that you get in the game. However, at the end of the day, we will give like Ignite points. Not the scores actually you got in the Kahoot game. So you get Ignite points if you are in the top 3. Right? So this game is going to cover like the stuff that we learned so far. And we have like 2 groups, right? So we have like the lava, we have like the Blockbuster. If you are, for example, in lava or in Blockbuster, in each of those, if you get into like the top 3 like ranking, and then you will get like these points. Like for the first person, 75, then second, 50, and the third one is going to get 30 Ignite points. So this is the format that you need to use when you want like to create like the username in the Kahoot. So you use like your first name, then the initial of the last name, and the group abbreviation. So for example, the Bugbuster is BB, the Python Lava is PL, right? So this is going to be like your group abbreviation. So it's going to be BB or PL. Your first name, space, like the last initial dot, and then the group abbreviation. So I think, Pooja, can you provide like the link in the chat? I'm not sure if did you. Okay, perfect. So for those like who get to this session late, they can just go through this stuff. Okay, so you first need to go through this link, kahoot.it. So if Pooja can write it down, can you write it down in the chat, please? Yeah, it would be great. So I mean that she already provided like the file, like the doc file as well, so you can just go through the slides and then click on it. So before I go through this, we are going to play the game. So I'm going just to change my window. So I already have it here. So I'm going to start. Okay. So I'm going to start this. And then you have to use this game pin 8999624, or maybe you can just scan this QR code from your cell phone, right? Because you cannot see the question on your end. So you have to see the question on the shared screen that I'm sharing right now, but you need to choose the correct answer on your phone PC. So if you can, it might be a good idea to play with a cell phone. Or if you want, you can just do it side by side, right? You can do side-by-side windows on your monitor. So you can see the question on one side, and the other side, you can choose the correct answer. So Pooja, do you know how many people do we have right now in the room? Like students?
I'm not sure. Let me just see.
I'm not sure when I should start, so I need just to wait a little bit just to make sure that everyone is ready. So a piece of advice before we start this game. So I'm going just to give you like 3 tips. First of all, if you can, have a paper and pen just to do some calculation if needed. Instead, because I mean that of course you can do it in your head, but it might be like safer to do it on the paper, right? Sometimes. The second one is that you cannot see the question on your like on a new like on this like on the tab that you open to Kahoot. You need to see the questions from the shared screen, like the screen that I'm sharing right now. So you can just see the question that I'm sharing, but you need to choose the correct answer on your end. And the third tip here is that, yeah, I forgot the third tip. I have no idea what the third tip. Okay, let me see if I can remember the third tip. So the third tip, some of the questions are tricky, right? So do not just choose like the answer that, I mean that if you have time, just do a quick check. I mean that of course, I think that if you, I'm not sure, but if you choose the correct question more quickly, you will get higher point, right? Ja? Yeah. Okay, so I mean that it's up to you. If you think that like the question is tricky, or you feel that the question is tricky, it might be a good idea just to double check your answer. But if you are sure about your answer, just go ahead and just click the correct answer. Okay, I think that's it, right, Pooja? I think we have 11 people. I'm going to, yeah, okay, I'm going just to start the session. So ready, everyone? Cool. So which direction will the circular? Okay, so we have 7 people answer correctly. So I'm going just to quickly go through like the answer here. So here, we set x equal to 50, right? Outside of like the function draw, and then we use the global keyword, which means that our x variable is not global, right? So when you do x like minus equal 1, reducing 1 from x, so your x would be 40, right? So now your circle is 40, then the draw function is going to like be run again and again. So every time you're updating x and you are reducing x, so your circle is going to the left because its x coordinate is decreasing. Cool. So, okay. I mean, I will of course share with you like the final score as well. Perfect. So this question was tricky. So let's go through it. So the x, y, z, of course, if you want to calculate z, you need to know like there is a priority between like the operations. So for example, the multiplication has a higher priority compared to, for example, addition here. So you have to do like x times y, then plus 2 plus, minus 1. However, if you look at like the last like command, like the statement, it is print the string z, right? So it is not the variable z, because as I said before, there's a difference between like the variable z, like when you store some sort of value in it, and when you want to print just the string z, and when you put it in the single quotation or double quotation. So here you just see the z, just the letter z on your screen, and not just the value of the variable z here. So the correct answer would be just z. Okay. Okay, so let's see what's happening here. So you have some sort of like a code here that the x is set to 10 outside of the draw function, right? And then whenever you want like to add x like plus 5, and the problem here is that it is not moving, and the reason is that whenever the function draw is going to run again and again, it's going like to use like the same x, right? So that's a problem. I mean that if you, for example, put the x equal 10 outside of like the def function, and then you consider like it as like a global variable, and then you update x, then you update the x globally, which means that your circle can then move. But in this case, the circle cannot move because the x is outside of the scope of the draw function. I mean, if x is in the draw function, it can move, but only by 5. So it might not be even like obvious. But this is like the best answer here. Okay, perfect. So let's go through like the answer here. So everything seems fine here. I mean that if you remove the line x equal 50 from like this code, the x is equal 0, then you're adding x by 5, like again and again, because the draw function is going to be run again and again. So your circle is moving to right. But the problem here is that, not a problem, but the thing here is that when you set x equal to 50 here, whenever the function draw is going to run again and again, your x is always starting from the point 50, right? And then you just added 5 and then draw it again. So it doesn't like move because every time you start from the 50, then 55, 50, 55. So I mean that like in theory it should work, it should move. But the problem here is that when you set x to 50 and then you add 5 to it, becomes 55. So your circle is 55, right? And then you draw it one more time, like you run the code one more time. Again, your x is set to 50, then you add 5 to it, becomes 55 again. So the circle doesn't move. Okay, perfect. So something to remember here is that when you have like the if, elif, else statement, all of them are inside like the if block, right? All of them are somehow related to each other. So if one of the condition becomes true, you will skip the whole block after executing that particular like a statement. So for example, here, if the flag is true, the first condition becomes wrong, but the second condition becomes true. So after you execute this line background red, you skip the next else or elif or whatever that you have. So you just skip the whole block and your background will be red. Perfect. We have 5 seconds. Okay. So we have 5 participants select 20 and 5 of them select 30 and 1 of them select 10. Okay, so let's see. So X is 10, right? So the first condition becomes true, right? So you have like to execute like this line. So which is 10 plus 10 is 20. So your X is now 20. Then your X is not 20, right? So when you move to the next line, you have to check like if the 20 is bigger than 50, which is correct. So then 20 plus 10 is 30. So your X becomes 30. The correct answer is the green one, 30. Yeah, here. We have 9 seconds, 8, 7. Okay, great. So let's see. So the total is 0. The numbers are 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. And then we want us to see what is like, what will be printed on the screen, right? So the I is in the number, right? It's not the range, right? So the I is actually the element in the numbers, like in this list. So we start with I10, right? Then 10 plus 0, the total is 10. So your total is 10. And then you check if the total is less than 70, you will print that I like that number I. So not print 10, then you go to the next loop, right? Like to the next iteration. So the I become 20, the total is already 10. So 20 plus 10 is 30 now, right? Then 30 is less than 70, so you print it. And then you move on. So you have to select like the answer that if you add the numbers, it should be less than 70. And the only answer is either the red one or the blue one. But the correct answer is blue one because you print in each iteration if the total becomes less than 70. So the correct answer is the blue one. Okay, great. So here we have if the mouse is pressed, right? So the first statement is not correct, right? So you move to the next one. The key held is not correct. The mouse is only pressed. So this statement is true. So you fill style the green one, right? And then you move on, and then you have like the fill circle 150, 150, and 100. So the correct answer should be the green one. Perfect. So you have like width 2 and height 3. This is the question like about indexing. So if you know like how the indexing works, so you know that like the index 2 means like the third number. So it is 1, 2, 3, so 30. And the index 3 means the fourth number. So because we start from 0, so 0, 1, 2, 3. So it is 30 and 20. Perfect. Okay, so let's see. So we have x1, x2, and then y4, y1 here, right? So you are changing x1 and x2 here based on some values on y, and then you print x. So if you just see this line, x1, updating x1 by adding it, like by adding a y4 to it, so which means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you add y50, y450 with 100, you should get 150 at the x1 for the x, and the only option that is correct is the blue one. So this is a good lesson. So if you are dealing with a hard problem, sometimes it might be a good idea just to take a quick look at what the final answer could be, right? Just take a quick look at what you are looking for at the end. So here you are looking for x, so, and then you are just changing, for example, x1 here, right? So here for x2 plus equal y1, you are not changing x1 here. So if you just check x1 and then check the answers, the correct answer would be the blue one. So that is one way to find the correct answer more quickly. Okay, so this question is somehow like straightforward to some extent. So you have like, you are trying to set the coordinates x, y of the circle with the values 1 and 2, and also with the values at index 3 would be the diameter, right? So you want the diameter to be 50, which is this last parameter input. So your list, which has 4 elements, the value at index 3 would be the last element. So your correct answer here would be the red one or the yellow one, or this orange one. So you have 50 or 50, and then the value 1 and 2 would be the second and third number. That should be 100, 100, 100, because the size of the window is 200, 200. So if you want like to put it exactly, put the center of the circle exactly in the middle of like the window, you should like 100, 100 for the XY coordinates of the circle. Okay, so let's go through this question. So you have a list and then you append an item to it. So these apples would be appended at the end of this, right? So you have an apple here, right after the lines. Then you change the index 3, the element at index 3, which is 0, 1, 2, 3. So which means the limes. So you are changing the limes to lemons. You remove tomato. So you don't have tomato here. So now your elements would be shifted to the left. I mean that you don't have tomato here. So your list would be eggs, mushroom, lemons, and apple. So you don't have tomato here. So the index 3 would be egg 0. You don't have tomato, right? You don't have anything here. I mean that the mushroom is just after eggs. So 0, 1, mushroom 1, the limes, which is now lemons 2. The last item is apple. So at index 3. So it would be apple. Okay. So this is like one of like the very, I think, common example of how we can sum the numbers or elements of a list. So if you want like, to sum a numbers or elements of a list, you just create a variable to store that total sum, which is here 0. Then you each through the numbers in that list, which is here n. So n is 1, 2, 3, 1. At each time, you just add that number to the total sum, for example, here result, right? So the result would be basically just the sum of the numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 1. If you add them, you get 7. Perfect. So this is another example of like how you can keep track of like a variable or store a total sum of, for example, something. So here, you are not just adding the numbers together, but you're multiplying the numbers that are in the same index and then add them together. So when you say length I times width I, and then you go through I in range, means that each time that you are at a particular index, so let's say for example at index 0, right? So you have 2 and 10. So they are at the same index. So you just multiply them and then add them to the total sum, or here's the result. So the result would be just 2 times 10 plus 10 times 5 plus 50 times 1. And that gives you 120. Okay, so 6 more questions, I see. 7. Okay. So it says how many circles will be drawn on the screen, right? So each time that this while loop is going to run, you are going to see one circle, right? So the number of circles depends on like the number of iterations that you will get from this while loop. So you set x to 100, and in the beginning, right from like the start, 100 is not equal to mouse x, which is a constant value here is 25, like you are not changing it. So you run this code. So I mean that you run like this while loop, and then you create a circle, then you add 20 to the x, so it becomes 120. It is still not equal to mouse x, so you get the second circle. But now here is the story. In the third iteration, your x is going to be increased by 20 again. So now you are at 140, which is now more than mouse x. And in each iteration, you're just adding 20 to it. So there is no way you can get back to that 125 to make this condition false. So you will stay in the loop and you will get in a lot of like many. So yeah, so it becomes infinite. Cool. Okay, so let's see the correct answer. So here the I is 1, right? So the while 1 is bigger than 0, you run this code, right? But remember that after going through this while loop, like into this while loop, each time that you are saying I equal numbers I, in fact, you are saying that my I here is one of the elements of this numbers list. And all of them are bigger than 0 except one of them. So there is a high chance that this loop is going to run for infinite times, so, right? Unless you get to this 0. So we have to track it and let's see what's going to happen. So if I is 1, so look at the index here. So the numbers at index 1 is 4. So now your I is 4. 4 is bigger than 0. Oh, what happened? Sorry. So the numbers at index 4 is 2. Now your I is 2. Right? Then in this next iteration, the I is bigger than 0. So 2 is bigger than 0. The numbers at 2 is 6. So we are still running we are still in the while loop. So the I is now 6. 6 is bigger than 0. The numbers at index 6 is 5. So 5 is still bigger than 0. But now here is interesting. Now the number at index 5 is 0. And the 0 is not bigger than 0. And this is like the moment that the condition becomes false and you will get out of like the while loop. So the final I that makes this condition false is 0. So the print like the print I would be as 0. Okay. So your function is going to be called by number 4. So you provide like the parameter 4 here for the number. You add 2 to it, so it becomes number 6. So your number is now 6. And then you return not the number, but return this value, which is number divided by 3. So you return 2. So your answer would be 2 here. Okay, so let's go through the question. So it is important to note that when you want like to see what would be printed, right? So the first thing I think you should do is just to first find out where is like the print statement, right? So you have print here, which is the print answer. But the answer is the value returned by this function, part 1, 1 and 2. So this statement is actually calling the function part 1. So you go to part 1 and you see that it has 2 parameters A, B, and you provide the values for this parameter, right? So it says part 1, 1, 2 means that your A is 1, your B is 2. So now you have part 2, A plus B, right? So it's not A comma B, it's A plus B, which means that A plus B is 3. So you are calling function part 2 with the parameter 3. So if you look at the part 2, it only needs 1 parameter, which makes sense, and it is 3. So 3 times 2 is 6. So the part 2 returns 6. Your answer is 6 here in the part 1. So the part 1 returns 6 as the answer. And the value returned by the part 1, 1, 2, which is 6, is going to be stored in the variable answer. And you print the answer. So the answer would be 6. Right? So as I said before, it would be a good idea to put yourself in the computer and see like how the computer like runs the code, right? Just follow it and see what the answer would be. So yeah, so we have 2, I think, more questions. Okay, so the B parameter, right? So which makes sense, right? The only thing that is missing here is B, and probably if you run this code, you will get like the error, like something like the variable is not like defined, right? So something like that. So perfect. So I think this would be our last. Okay, so this is somehow 3 questions. So you have like the my function ABC, you have 3 parameters, which is good because you provide like the 3 values for it. So it's all good. The return value is just a name, right? You can use any name. But when we use return value, we are just trying to say that we are trying to return this value at the end or something like that. So for example, your return value is just the sum of these parameters, and then you multiply by 2. So you update the return value. Now, this code will be run. So there is no problem with it, right? So don't forget that, because you are returning nothing. So my function 0, 1, 2 will be none, and you print none, right? But we are not talking about the error here, but just thinking about what is wrong here. So problem here is that you are trying to do something with my function, but you are not returning anything. So although you are calculating return value, but you are not returning this value, right? So you need to use the keyword return, and so return value. So my function return that value and then store it in the variable value here under the setup function, and then you print it, right? Otherwise, you just see nothing because the value will be none. So there is no error here, but what is wrong here is that you don't have the keyword error. The keyword return. So that is like one of the even like difficult situation in the coding. So if you get an error, actually it is good because you can find the problem and fix it. But if you don't get an error, you still need to check your code to make sure that your answer is correct or your result makes sense, right? So that is like a different kind of like bugs that you need to take care of, but we are not talking about that. So we are all good. Now let's see the final result. Okay. Perfect. So Helen, Buster, congratulations to all of you guys 3. If you are like you get like rank 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, 8, 9, 10, doesn't matter, right? At least you learn something. So if you are curious, you can still continue to learn more. So don't worry, the reports will be automatically saved and your points will be given to your like account or to your profile. So don't worry about that. So congratulations, and I hope you continue like your journey on learning programming. So I think we are good here. There's some reports here. We have, I'm not sure if you are interested in that, but like the team can use this report like for the next years. So I'm going just to switch my screen here. So perfect. So thank you so much for attending the Kahoot. I hope that you enjoyed it. Now I think Pooja is going to send you to a breakout room so you can talk to your mentors and work on your projects. And probably I will see you again at the end. Pooja, is there anything else that I should add?
I think you're good.
Okay, so perfect. So Pooja is going to send you to breakout room and I will see you. So a few things. So the deadline for the project is April 12th, right? So I mean, if you are interested in sending project, just make sure that I like to submit it before the deadline. And I think all of you by now should know how to download like the IEP YNB file from the Ignite Aranite. If you don't know how to do that, just let us know in the Discord and your mentors will like you. So we have, again, different parts for Blockbusters and Python Lava to submit the project. And you can also see the project rubric and categories through that link. So I think the Pooja already provided like the link to this slides in the chat. So make sure like to go through it. So you can also check it out like this project inspiration. Of course, you can come up with new ideas. So these are just to give you some idea how to create a cool project. And we are not done yet. So there is also, we have like an Ignite Flare, right? Which is an 8-week course again, but it's more advanced. So like about like the Pythonic B, object-oriented programming and game development. So you did some amazing job and a cool job here, but you will learn how to do more when you learn about like object-oriented programming. So if you check out like the social media, you will see when the registration is open. So you can go ahead and register if you are interested. Perfect. I think we are almost done here. There are two things that I need to tell you guys. So one of them was one of the student, I think, asked if like the Pythonic Lava and the Blockbusters are going to be ranked separately for the Kahoot, and that is correct. So apparently, so the report that we got ranked all the students together, but don't worry, like the team will take care of that and rank each like group separately. So don't worry about that. And also we are going to have a gala. So I encourage you to go ahead and just register, and I will see you there. And I think I'm almost done. Again, if you want like to practice, there are a lot of websites and resources. You just search like, I don't know, like programming, like practice programming, or I don't know, like easy questions, something like that. And then you will get a lot of web pages or web blogs, and you can just go ahead and try problems on your own. I think that was it. So I'm going to say goodbye to you guys, and I hope to see you in the next set of sessions, the advanced one for the OOP. So that was it. If you have any feedback, let us know in the chat. If you want like to say anything, can say it here or on Discord. And that's it. That's it. So I'm going just to stop sharing. Oh, I already stopped. So Pooja, is there anything that I need to tell them?
No, I think you covered everything. I highly encourage everyone to attend the gala if they can. It's a great opportunity to hear from some industry speakers on what like having a job in software engineering is really like. So highly recommend. And it's also a great way to see some projects that other students did as well. Really cool to see.
Perfect. So thank you, Pooja, and thank you, everyone.